Mr. Clayton.
I'm afraid to ask, and how long it might take, but why do contracts between willing buyers and willing sellers have to be made public? I don't think I want everybody to know what I might have paid for a used vehicle, because maybe I really didn't get a good price, or maybe I got a great price. So I don't understand that. And secondly, Bill, you brought up the point of agapropes. If this is just simply a clarification of the current law, why would there need to be a whole lot of money to implement this rule? What's USDA projecting this rule may actually cost to implement? Doesn't seem like it would take a whole lot if it's not going to be a dramatic change.
Okay, two-part question. And the first one, if Dave Domina is there, I'd like for him to speak to it. Dave, what's wrong with two willing parties contracting with each other? How does that harm anybody?
Well, sir, in a market in which the buyer and the seller share relatively equal levels of power to negotiate, there's absolutely nothing wrong with unpublished private contracts. It's true in the used car market, where there are millions of transactions. It's not true in the meat production business, where there used to be hundreds of thousands and now are tens of thousands of producers who are only 3 or 4 purchasers. Allowing private transactions to occur, particularly between producers, if we want to call them margin operators, to use Mr. Callicrate's term, margin operators that can deliver to the packers perhaps 5, 6, 2, 3, 4% of their annual need, a total huge number, one feed yard with a 1 million head capacity, one series of them in the United States, for example. There's too much collusion and too much opportunity for it. It's too easy for the grid to be a private grid that favors that producer. Again, at Fort Collins, the president of Friona Industries said he gets a better price. And his better price is the result of his contract with Cargill. Well, who gets the lower price? Everybody else who manufactures the same kind and quality of product that isn't as big and doesn't have a close relationship with the corporate executive. This law was designed to protect against that.
If I can interrupt, David, what is wrong?
Or in Montana, or in southern Illinois, or in southwest Nebraska can't make that connection while supporting a family.
If I could ask again, David, what is wrong, though, with the premium for volume? Well, what is wrong with the premium for volume? If I can deliver 100,000 head, I damn well expect to get paid more than the guy who delivers 1,000 head.
Well, what's wrong with a premium for volume in this business is that it's been unlawful since 1921, number one. And number two, there is no uniqueness in the product. It's a commodity product. And number three, there's nothing about the plant that accommodates the volume. The plant operates on a chain, and the animals go into it one by one and come out of it in boxes one by one.
And this is Bill Bullard. The first part of the question was, what is wrong, or why would you want to disclose contracts between a willing buyer and willing seller? To make it clear, the rule does not require public disclosure of any individual cattle transactions between a producer and a packer. What the rule requires is for the meat packers to maintain records that justify and establish the reasons why different prices were made. That information will not be made public, will remain under the confidentiality rules of the agency, and will only be used for regulatory and enforcement purposes by the agency. The rule expressly states that documentation would not be disclosed publicly. Secondly, the rule requires not copies of actual contract transactions, but rather the rule requires samples of each unique type of contract that the packers offer to producers in their cattle procurement practices. The rule expressly states that they estimate that each of the 10 largest packers each offer 10 different types of contract. So the packers would be required just to provide a sample contract, not including any proprietary information, confidential information, or individual contact information. So it is incorrect to assume that the rule is going to require public disclosure of any contracts. It is only going to require the packers to disclose the general forms of each unique type of contract that they offer. And I have forgotten the second question that you had.
You asked about you mentioned AgriPro.
Oh, yes.
I would think that there wouldn't be a huge cost.
I do not know what the cost to the agency would be for proceeding with the final rule. What I do know is with the country of origin labeling experience, the agency was precluded from using any funds for purposes of proceeding with the rule. And so the appropriations process can, in fact, be an effective vehicle for derailing an important rule such as what we're dealing with today.